just in time for the sequel to It comes the almost straight to DVD spin-off of It. Listen, I know that makes it sound like I'm bad-mouthing this, but the worst thing that this movie has going for it is that right before it started, they did show a trailer for the new It film. So within like 5 minutes of this film, I went, oh, it's just It. That's entirely what this movie is. It's really kind of it. It's like taking place in the past, bunch of mischief kids who get bullied by the popular kids. They're basically the losers, is who they are from It. Just, like half size, because there's only 4 of them. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
You might feel differently about this than I did. How'd you like this? Because we didn't really, we discussed it a little bit after we saw it.
I never read the actual books because the illustrations themselves just scared me so much I wouldn't bother reading it.
I tried reading the books when I was a kid, but man, yeah, the illustrations freaked me the fudge out. So I didn't get that far, but I did own a copy of this.
Yeah, it's like, I never even bought it. Like, every time I see it at the Scholastic Book Fair, it's like, I think I'll just go check out the Magic School Bus or something like that.
It's so weird that, this is sold at, those Scholastic Book Fairs.
It's like, is that even appropriate for kids? But it's like...
Man, I don't know if this movie is appropriate for kids. It's so weird watching this film.
It's like, there's elements that are, okay for kids,
there is
but
a
then there
massive part of this film that is about the Vietnam War. And I keep watching that just going okay, it's not that I'm opposed to you putting in their messages about stuff from the past. I mean, this is written by Guillermo del Toro, so he's done that in 2 other films that he's done already that are supposed to be either fantasy or horror films set in the past. And this is his first time really doing it with American culture.
Yeah.
And I watched this the entire time, and I was just like, I'm not opposed to you doing this, but this is based on a book that's made for children. And it's not that children shouldn't know about the past, but I don't think they're going to understand any of this, because I'm a grown-ass man, and I'm sitting here going, why the hell, what's the correlation between this and the Vietnam War? They're both scary for kids? Is that if you were a kid in the 60s, you were afraid of turning 18, because that is a plot line for one of these kids in here. He's afraid of going off and having to fight in the Vietnam War. So that is a plot line for one of these kids, and I kept looking at it so is it okay, the ghosts are Vietnam coming from? Because they also keep flashing to the election. That's something they will stop the movie constantly to just focus on, Richard Nixon is ahead in the polls right now. And they'll have actual footage of reports of the night of Richard Nixon winning. But it's never really stopping that much to talk about. It'll be they run past it, and as they're running from a monster, the camera just holds on the TV. And Richard Nixon was officially elected in and I'm just sitting there supposed to be going, so are you saying Richard Nixon's the real monster in all this? Is that...
It's really hard to say,
I'm not opposed to them doing this, because if you saw our Kong Skull Island review, I said they turned King Kong into a giant metaphor for Vietnam, and I thought it worked. I thought they nailed it in that film. I'm looking at this going, I don't know what the hell you were trying to do with this, man.
It's okay, this is set in the past during Vietnam and when Nixon is becoming president. Why?
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I could think of why it would be set in the past is because there is that one moment where they have to go and do research.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there going, well, yeah, if the internet was a thing, then that would kind of hurt.
Yeah, it's when was the book published?
Probably around the same time, if I had to take a guess.
So. I mean,
that was the other reason why this was probably set in the past. Is I was like, they're probably trying to set around the exact same time that the book was made, trying to say this was the actual book and this got published, because the main character that we're following, the protagonist, she wants to be an author. And she's the one who finds this book. So it is kind of implied that maybe the book she finds is the one that goes on to become the one that we all read when we were kids. Yeah, okay, I guess that kind of works in a way. And that kind of sums up my feelings towards this film. It kind of works in a way.
I feel like this is a good transition from spooky fun movies like Goosebumps to a more serious horror.
Man, the entire time I was watching this, I kept thinking about Goosebumps. Because in Goosebumps, it was, okay, all the stories that R.L. Stine wrote, they're all real, and now they've come to life and they're going around the town. This is basically all those stories that were in that Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. They're real things that were created by this girl, and they found the copy of her original book, and now the book is writing new stories just for the kids who found them, and they're chasing them around the town. And yeah, it's pretty terrifying at moments.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like for adults it wasn't really scary enough, cause like I know it could have like gone further, because I know isn't it rated R? Isn't this rated R?
Oh no, this is PG-13.
PG-13. Okay,
Yeah, this is definitely PG-13.
Okay, yeah, cause I felt like there were some elements or like some scenes where they could have like gone further with the scary or like the grossness, like with the red spot and everything.
Yeah.
But they didn't, and I think it's because like this is kind of like, you know, not really baby's first horror movie, but more like middle schooler's first horror movie.
The thing is, there's moments where this is. It's hard to say.
It is.
Because a lot of times people, when they get older, they think back to like kids and they think, okay, well, they can't really handle that stuff. And they forget that when they were kids, they could handle this stuff. And yeah, I have to stop and remind myself, yeah, I was watching some kind of freaky stuff
and
when I was a kid.
And plus, like, this new generation, we're not entirely sure what they're afraid of.
That's the thing. I don't know if kids are going to be into this thing because I don't know how many of these stories they might have heard before.
I don't even know if like Scholastic even has these.
I am stunned that this is not on like the banned books list. I am always shocked that this thing isn't in there because it is just. I mean, the illustrations alone, they're terrifying.
Honestly, like maybe they republished it with different illustrations.
I remember hearing some story about how they were going to try and do that at one point in time. I don't know if it actually went through.
Yeah, but it's like those illustrations are so like iconic. It's like burned into your memory.
And I gotta say, Guillermo del Toro, the dude. Okay, this is time for one of my unpopular opinions, but Guillermo del Toro. If you watched our review of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I said that I finally realized what my deal with Quentin Tarantino is. I think he is a beautiful visual director, but I don't think he's a great storyteller. He used to be at one point in time. I think that he has lost his ability to tell stories at this point. And I know it's controversial, but I feel that way. With Guillermo del Toro, I've always kind of felt the same way, and I know that's really controversial because a lot of people are like, no, he is a master storyteller. I'm like, I've always thought he was a master visual storyteller. Even like Shape of Water, which everybody was going, no, this is one of the greatest things you've ever seen. I walked out of that thing going, that's fine. It's all right. Look real pretty. It's all right. Fine. I like one or two scenes in there.
I guess, but it's like at the same time, it's like sometimes visual storytelling will make up for like actual plot.
Absolutely. But he did not direct this. He just wrote it.
Yes.
So I'm looking at this going, okay, it's his storytelling, which I'm not really the biggest fan of, but it's his creative team creating like the look of this.
Yeah, it's like recreating like the illustrations.
And there's a lot of these in there that look like they came straight from the page, which considering the unique art style of that book is done wonderfully. But it's not directed by him. Yeah, you really notice the change there. Because this thing is not directed that well, and it's especially not edited well. And I know a lot of people out there go, well, I don't really notice editing. You'll notice some of the bad editing in here. There's a lot of cuts that are like less than a second long, of like somebody looks to something and just, back to this. It's like, what the fuck, what? What was that thing over there?
So
or they'll get like right in someone's face when crazy things are happening. I'm going, I can't tell what the hell is happening right here in this moment.
So if you think Guillermo del Toro was the director as opposed to the writer, you think it would have been a better...
It would have been better, absolutely 100%. It would have been better. He knows how to frame a shot. This movie, not quite. There's a lot of moments where I actually had to stop and go, are they leaving a ton of empty space over there so that I look and expect a ghost to pop out, or... Why are they? No, we're just on the next scene now. That was just a poorly framed shot. Okay.
Or maybe they were doing that on purpose to deceive you.
To make me think that there's going to be... I don't know. Because this movie is not that... I wouldn't give him credit on that because this movie's not that great at making you think, okay, where's the scare going to come from? Well, you just had us really freaked out, and now there's a moment of silence as we look around for something. 5, 4... 3, yeah, there's a lot of those in here. That's not all of them, though. They're not all just those cheap, oh, I think everything is fine. Blah! It's not all of those things. I know you hate when I do that. But there are some, like, creepy moments of slow burns in here. Just some creepy monsters and just, like, the way they move are, captured very well and are incredibly creepy. But, yeah, there's also just a bunch of cheap-ass jump scares in here. And when it comes to the characters that we're following here, I'm sorry, man. If I had not seen that It trailer before this began, I might not have been thinking it, but the entire time I was going, this is this kid, this is this kid, she's her, that's him. Bing, bong, boom. It's all these ones, same as we got in the Losers Gang, except that there were more of them over there, and they were more subtle and better written, because there's characters in here that we're supposed to be rooting for. I hated their guts. I will flat out say, the jokey comedic relief kid in here, I hated that kid from the second this began. That kid never had a single moment that made me like him. I hated him this entire film.
Were you glad when he, like, got kidnapped?
No, I was bored. No, don't say what happened to him. Don't say that. Spoiler.
I'm sorry.
Although I will give a hint to what happens to him in a moment here, because we need to talk about that when I mention I think Guillermo del Toro is not the best script writer in the world. I'm sorry, folks. But no, that kid, when it got to his demise, I went, yeah, we all saw this coming a mile away, man. The scene where that kid ended up getting taken out, it's spoiler for this, but you guys know it's coming from how it's framed in the movie. I'm so sorry for spoiling that. I just realized someone's gonna say, oh, I didn't need to know that he got taken out. They frame it so hard in here. That moment when it gets around to him, because it goes from one kid to the next, of just, they find this book and just stories start getting written inside him. They're looking just like, oh my God, it's being written. Oh, quick, you gotta call him and tell him not to do the thing that's happening in the story in here. When it gets to that guy, his scene was sitting right next to me in the movie. I was like, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, my scene is coming up. Excuse me, one side, I have to just get across. This gag would be funnier if Peach wasn't in my lap. But that scene got up there and went, excuse me, oh, my phone's going off, everyone, hold on, oh, this is my big scene. Everybody pay attention to the big scene up there. It is framed so horribly in there because this kid, it gets to the point where there's only 3 of them left. I will at least not reveal who the remaining 3 are. But it gets to the moment where there's only 3 of them left. And they're going up to this house, and the kid is just sitting there going, I had that dream again last night. The one where I'm in the red room, and there's the pale lady who just keeps saying this is a safe place over and over again. I'm worried that the book is going to try and use that against me. What do you mean you had that dream again? You've never mentioned that dream before.
I mean,
it's never come up in this thing. And literally when, like, you're looking at your watch and going, how long has it been since the last time anything happened to anybody in this film? Oh, it's about that time, and we're going to a very spooky place right now. Hey guys, I just want to bring up my greatest fear, and it's insanely specific.
Well, there was that one scene where he was like hiding in the closet to like scare the other kid, and then he poked his head out, and the room was different. It was the red room.
That wasn't the red room.
I know, but
there was no pale lady in there saying this is a safe place. He said, I had that dream again where I'm in the red room with the pale lady who says this is a safe place. That is not... He stops the goddamn movie to turn to the audience and go, this is how I'm getting taken out, everybody! And again, I'm sorry if you consider that a spoiler, but goddamn, when the movie itself, before the scene happens, goes, this is the scene that's going to happen, I can't really feel like it's a spoiler. Yeah, man, I thought that was insanely lazy. And there's other moments in here that I just felt were so lazy. Like I said, I kept thinking to myself, how the fuck is all this tying into Vietnam? Like, what's the point of this? There was a moment where it's on election day and they're all on the bus and they're listening to the radio and you've got this bad impersonation of Wolfman Jack on the radio going, remember there, kids, it's election day, so go to the polls and vote no to Nixon. I almost said Reagan. Wow, sorry, recent news stories have been on my brain.
Wrong decade.
Isn't it weird? That's the kind of thing that like a couple of years ago that would have been all we'd be talking about for like several months, and now it was just a blip in the sea of crazy shit going on.
You're thinking Stranger Things. This is scary stories.
That's another reason why this movie, like the whole like Nixon and Vietnam thing. I kept looking at that. And I was like, oh yeah, Nixon's there. Like there's a moment, it's a clear, one of the opening shots is of a Nixon sign with a swastika painted over it. And they're trying to go, this is how evil Nixon is. And I'm like, dude, a couple of years ago, I would have been all on your side. And don't get me wrong, Nixon's still a complete sack of shit, but we got someone even worse in there right now. I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm like, yeah, wow, you guys sure had it bad. Oh, what'd he do? Listen to a phone call? Okay. Wow. Oh, man, that was a nightmare for you guys. Again, I know Nixon wasn't a sack of shit. I'm just saying. Anyway, why do you have to get political on this show? Because, Jesus Christ.
Because the movie's getting political.
The movie's getting political, and goddamn, have you seen the world? But anyway. But yeah, there's like a moment where they're on the bus, and Wolfman Jack is just going, make sure that you vote no to Nixon. Make sure that you vote against sending our children to die. And he says it just like that, as it's like closing in on each of them, and I just went, okay, well, if his death scene was sitting right next to me, this one was sitting right behind me and just like grabbed me by the shoulder and went, dude, look at this. Look at my scenes up here, man. My subtle ass scene.
Oh, Pete, you're getting too squirmy. I'm gonna have to put you down.
I know, I'm being excited, sorry.
Yes.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of lazy ass scenes in here, and Guillermo del Toro, he's had scenes that I've commented on in some of his previous films that I went, yeah, that wasn't subtle in any way, shape, or form, but he was able to frame it in a way that made me really enjoy the scene. Like in Shape of Water, the scene where the government guy is buying the car, I have said that is one of the best deal with the devil scenes I've ever seen in a movie without actually being a deal with the devil. But if you handed that off to a cheaper director, I would have been just like, yes, I get it. The car salesman is supposed to be the devil. I understand the scene now. I get it. This movie, I look at these scenes and it's like, well, if you had handed it off to someone else, I mean, if you had handed it off to Del Toro himself, it might have been all right, but you didn't. And this guy did not know how to shoot these scenes. Yeah, there's a lot of moments like that in here that just drove me freaking nuts. But yeah,
well, should we like actually talk about like the plot or like?
Yeah, well, we kind of talked about it. It's basically what happens is it's these kids. They're out on Halloween night, and each of them are like 17 years old. They are way too damn old for this. I'm sorry. I love Halloween so much, and I have always been that person coming in here and saying, "Don't let anybody tell you when you are too old to stop trick or treating." But these kids, I kept thinking that they hired like 18, 19-year-olds to play like 13-year-olds. And I went, oh my god, this is terrible casting. But then later on in the film, no, you find out they're like 17, almost 18 years old. And I was looking at this just going, okay, dude, even I'm being pushed to the limits on this thing. Even I'm almost siding with the bully on this one who's stealing your candy. But yeah, they're out there, they get chased by this boy, they go to this house, and they end up meeting this guy who he's drifting through town. And all of them, they end up going to this house, and it's this house where this girl hung herself several years ago. And
I don't think it was a girl. I think she was like a full-grown lady at that time. Like
whatever. Details. But yeah, this woman ended up hanging herself, and she was the daughter of this family that owned this mining plant in the town. And they break into the house and they start exploring it around, and they find where she was locked up and kept in there. And the rumor was that she used to write scary stories when she was trapped in there, and there was a hole in the wall, and she would whisper the scary stories to children who would come to the wall and listen to them. They find the book, they take it out, and now the book just starts writing new stories, and whenever it writes one, it happens to one of the people in there. And then they have to discover what really happened to this person and try and undo the curse of this book.
Like, the thing is, like, Scary Stories, it's an anthology of, like, you know, scary stories. So how do you, like, fit that into, like, a full-length movie?
I really feel like this should have been an anthology series.
I feel like that, too. I was thinking of Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix, and I was thinking, gee, I think Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark would have worked better like that, like an anthology.
I 100%, I did not watch the trailers for this. I've tried to stop watching trailers. If we get to the movie too early, then I end up seeing some, which is how I saw
honestly,
the trailer. But I had no idea what this was. I just saw like a couple of like brief like screenshots on Twitter of this, and it showed different kids in different situations with different monsters.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's an anthology series.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
So I'll admit, when I was watching this thing and I actually saw what it was, I just went, are you fucking kidding? Are they going to get into the house and they start reading the scary stories they find there, and then that becomes the anthology?
It's like, oh, it's that.
But I'll give them this. As far as turning this into a non-anthology style movie, or as we call it, a normal movie, I think they did about as good as they could.
About as good as they could get, honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only like so many. You can only like do an anthology convert anthologies into a full movie in so many different ways.
Yeah,
it's
and
like
I
you're
think
very
they
limited
did
there.
about as good as they could have, but then again, as I said, there's some lazy moments in here where they just stop to go, what's the next one going to be, everybody? Here you go. So yeah, I did have a couple problems with how some stuff was set up in here, but I had some problems with how stuff was set up. I had some problems with the characters themselves, but what saved this is that the design of the monsters are really damn good. The design, when this thing actually wants to get creepy, it's actually legitimately creepy. The visuals of this are the saving grace of this film for me. Because it's not like I was hating this thing, but if this thing didn't look good, I might have started hating it at moments. Because there were things that I hated in here. I hated the editing, I hated some of the characters in here, but yeah, I never was upset watching this. I never got bored watching this. I did enjoy myself playing the times, and it was entirely because, man, when this thing wanted to have a creepy-ass monster on screen, it had a creepy-ass monster on screen, and I was, even though this is PG-13, I was constantly being surprised by what was allowed in here. I was constantly stunned by what they allowed to put in this movie. So, yeah, I had to give them a lot of credit on that.
Oh, like I said, like, the illustrations in the book are, like, so iconic. I feel like they had to, like, put effort into the visuals at least.
We feel like they had to. The producers might not have, so it's good that they did. I've seen a lot of instances where it's like, well, of course you have to do this, and the producers just, do we? Do we have to do this? Because we can do it for way cheaper, and you'd probably still come to see it.
Lion King remake.
Well, there's a lot of shit out there. No, that's the problem with Lion King remake was not budget. It was not them. Trust me, they did not slash the budget on that thing.
No, it was just
they slashed the imagination on that thing. So yeah, that is really the saving grace I have on this thing. You got anything else to add before we go into spoilers?
I don't think so. I mean, the stuff I do have to talk about are in the spoilers. So.
All right, I'm gonna give this movie a 6. It's still above the halfway point. I'm so glad that I saw it. But yeah, I did have problems with this thing all throughout, but there's enough good stuff that I'm not upset that I saw it.
Yeah, I think I'll give it a 6-2. Like,
oh,
this is probably like one of the few times we actually agree on a rating.
No, we do that a lot.
I know, but it's like
that's gonna complain people have had.
But it's like you're usually like more strict with the ratings.
I guess I am.
I'm more easygoing. It's like, yeah, I thought it was okay. I felt like it could have been better, but then again, I don't like. It's hard to say because, like...
It gets into spoilers.
No, it's like... I can't tell if this movie is, like, actually aimed at younger kids or just, like, nostalgic adults.
I feel like... Yeah, it does have that tone of being, like, trapped in the middle of two worlds. It doesn't quite know what it wants to be. And, again, this kind of goes to Del Toro. He loves to make movies where, look at like Pan's Labyrinth or The Orphanage. These are films that take place during big historical moments. But in this instance, I just didn't think it worked. I really just didn't. And I kept thinking to myself, okay, well, that makes it seem like this is aimed more at adults, but I don't think any of the adults are really going to get behind these kids all that much. I enjoyed, okay. It really just comes down to like a handful of them. There are some good kids in here. I don't want to say I hate all of them. But really, I either hated them, found them bland, or towards the end, I was like, okay, well, you're all right now. You're fine now, I guess. But yeah, even the ones who they were trying to make really sympathetic, I found them to just be kind of bland. I didn't find these kids to be that interesting. And there were like 2 in there that I just flat out did not enjoy at all.
So, like, that being said, I kind of felt like after seeing this movie, I want to read the book and face my childhood fears.
All right, that's fair. That's good. So let's go into spoiler stuff.
Yes.
Well, you said you had spoiler stuff.
Well, basically, it's Ramon. He was the drifter. Like, basically, like, they come out and say, like, he avoided the draft and everything.
Yeah, he got his letter to go to Vietnam a week ago, and because his brother went to Vietnam and died, he packed up and he ran.
Yeah, but like then at the end of the movie, he goes to Vietnam. He's like, I'm gonna face my fear, and I'm like, that's good, except.
Wait, was that what we were supposed to feel about it? Because that was one question I had. What am I supposed to feel about this moment?
Because if you know anything about Vietnam, it was an absolute disaster, and like it could have been completely avoided. So, like, having the face your fear thing with Vietnam kind of seems like... Like, if this was set in World War II, it's like, yeah, go fight those Nazis and everything. Go face your fear. We won that war. Vietnam...
Yeah, it's not... Like, I thought it was supposed to be we escaped this, but there's a bigger, larger terror out there in the world.
That might be it.
Maybe that's what it was, but now that you mentioned this, I think, because while he's going up, he's got the hopeful music going, and she's in the car with her dad and the sister in the back, and they're like, yes, we're going to find the answers to this, and it's supposed to be this big, exciting, which, by the way, that feels such like a sequel bait in there.
It is.
And I hated that. I really disliked that.
I understand there were more scary stories to tell in the dark. They made more books about that, and I'm wondering if...
But the big curse of this book was the woman who wrote it. You solved that problem in here.
Yeah, but, like, it didn't bring any of the kids back that got taken away from those stories. Yeah, but she said,
but as they were growing up, she said, and I know we can find the answers to how to get them back in the book. And I kept thinking to myself, the book was her. Like, that's a thing that's said earlier in the film.
Like,
they say there's no magic involved in this. It's just pure hate, and you solved her hate there at the end of all this.
Yeah, it's like the whole reason why, like, it's a Sarabella, that's her name?
Yeah.
The whole reason why she, like, made these stories was because she was angry that she got falsely accused of, like, being, like, insane.
Her parents thought that her parents knew that she wasn't crazy, but she wanted to tell the town that her parents' factory was poisoning the water with mercury, so they had her
locked up.
They had her sent to a mental institution, and one of the doctors there was her brother, and the brother basically tortured her to try and get her to stop telling people that there was mercury in the water, to try and take the blame for what was happening to these children herself.
So, like, that fueled her rage, and that's what caused her to write these stories, but it's like, how is that not magic?
Well, it's one of those things where it's Silent Hill rules is what it is.
Fair enough.
Where it's not so much dark magic, it's just that there was so much hate that it just took on a life of its own. Which, yes, okay, if you want to talk about that being magic, then fine, but it's whatever. So... yeah, this thing ends, and it's got that sequel bait in there, and it's got that hopeful music while Ramona's going off to Vietnam, and again, I kept looking at that, like, I thought that was supposed to be this really, like, oh, he couldn't escape this, but there's hopeful music playing. Why are you playing the hopeful music during this moment? And then you used to come in here and say that he's facing his fears, excuse me, hiccup, and I look at this now and go, oh, that actually matches up. And that sucks.
Yes.
That's not, no.
No.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
In the sequel, it's Nixon who's the pure evil that they have to face.
Which, again, is another thing in this movie. I just keep looking at it. It's like, I don't know who you're aiming this at. And even I, as someone who enjoys political messages in their films, and especially love it when they tie it into horror films, even I'm looking at this going, what the fuck was the point of this? Yeah, it just did not match up at all, I felt. And yeah, you can come up with an explanation for it. Like I said, we came up with an explanation for it. Like, the monsters are like a symbol of growing older, and when you hit that 18 mark, then the creeping evil is coming for you. And yeah, Ramon tried to run from him, but now it's coming after him. And yeah, I get that, but it doesn't quite match up the way that you think it does, man. Yeah, I had just several problems with this film, but visually it's very cool.
Yes, like, there were a lot of issues, a lot of problems, but we still enjoyed ourselves, so we can't really give it that bad of a rating.
It's fine, yeah, it's whatever. It made me look forward to it. It made me actually really want to go back and rewatch it. Yeah, I forgot how good that movie was. So, yes, come back later this weekend. We're going to do a post-Geekout reaction for The Boys, not AMC, the Amazon series. And then come back on, like, Monday-ish, I think, probably. We'll be doing one for that new Rocko's Modern Life movie.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And next week, we're in August, meaning summer movie season is dead. What the hell comes out? Something comes out next week. Something always comes out. But there's something specifically that I looked at and went, oh, I gotta talk about that. So stay tuned as I try and figure out what that was. Bye, everyone.
Bye.